Hello everybody, this is AK. I'm back. So in the past couple of weeks, well maybe 3 weeks, I made videos, quite a few videos in fact, on why DBS, OCBC and UOB are still attractive investments both for income as well as for growth. In fact, the last video I made was only about 8 or 9 days ago, and I talk about how if someone's thinking of investing in the banks, in our local banks, and if he had $50,000, how much might he want to invest in each of the banks, DBS, OCBC and UOB? And some people ask, wow, you're so brave. Aren't you afraid of being called Kam Gong again? Well, I mean, if people listen to my videos, right, listen or watch my videos entirely from beginning to end, and not just one video, but the entire series of videos, they'll know where I come from, right? That we can get our feet wet, get our foot in the door, so to speak, but don't throw in everything, including the kitchen sink, right? People say, "Aya, prices so high. Wait for the prices to come down, then buy lah." Yeah, of course, that's easy to say, right? But we also have heard stories of how many people who have been waiting by the side for prices to come down, and prices came down, maybe not enough for them to buy, and then the prices went up again. So how like that, right? So I mean, people call me names. I'm sure Kam Gong is just one of the names that I'm being called, right? I've also been called a peasant millionaire. For those of you who have been following my blog for a long time, you know that. So I mean, if people want to call me names, what can I do, right? What can I do, right? So then there are people who say, AK, it's easy for you to say, ma, you know, you bought your bank stock so cheap, you know, you started buying in 2016, DBS was $13, $14 per share. Then you bought again during the pandemic, also so cheap, right? Yeah, so now you're telling people to buy at a higher price to support your stock valuation, right? The prices are high so that you will not lose money. Aiyo, AK so evil. Well, I mean, for those people who say that, obviously they haven't been following me until maybe recently, right? I have been buying and averaging up, right? So I reviewed, for example, I bought UOB when it was like $26, and I bought I bought more UOB shares when it was $26 per share. I bought more OCBC shares when it was $12.50, $13 per share. I even bought more DBS shares when it was like $24 per share. This was all after the pandemic, right? As the banks have recovered, their share price have recovered, right? I bought at higher prices, right? Averaging up. That's because even though the share prices have gone up, the banks have become more valuable. Their NAV went up. The dividends that they paid out went up. So the valuation has to go up. And because of that, paying a higher price is not a big deal. I mean, paying a higher price makes sense, right? Because you are paying for something that is intrinsically more valuable, right? So there's nothing wrong with paying a higher price, okay? Like I say, the banks retain half of their earnings, so their NAV would go up, everything else being equal. And because their earnings have gone up, paying out the same percentage of their earnings as dividends, the dividends per share have also gone up. So like what Warren Buffett say, it's okay to pay a fair price for a wonderful business. And I think DBS, OCBC and UOB, they are wonderful businesses, and paying a fair price for them is totally fine. And those prices that I mentioned, I thought they were fair prices. Now, of course, then people ask, then what do you think are fair prices now? 不要害我. But this is a hot potato question, right? Right, if you're putting me in the hot seat. The thing is, what is fair will differ from person to person, which is why analysts will have different target prices, right? I think that paying 1.2 times book value for OCBC and UOB is fine. I don't see anything wrong with that. For people who are still waiting and haven't gotten their feet wet yet, that's why I say in the last video on the local banks, it's perfectly fine to buy some. It's perfectly fine to buy some, right? And I say DBS because it's trading at a richer valuation. Maybe buy less of DBS, right? Because what we're looking at now, their prices, right? And Mr. Market has mood swings. Sometimes Mr. Market you feel very euphoric, and then that's where it sends prices up, and then valuation looks a bit stretched, right? And sometimes Mr. Market feel depressed and valuations will come down a bit more, and it seems like to be a better deal, that kind of thing. It's just prices, right? And then Warren Buffett will tell you that looking at prices alone, that's not investing. You have to look at valuation, right? But of course, when we are buying shares, we have to pay the price that Mr. Market asks for. So people say, "Aya, then never mind lah, I don't want to buy now lah. I'll wait until AK buys, then I buy." I'm not going to tell you when I'm buying, right? Because I might get into trouble if I buy and you follow me and the price drops, then I kena, right? For me, it's okay if I buy and the price drops. I don't really care, because like some people might say, oh, my average prices are so low, right? So what if the price drops? I'm still making money. They'll say things like that. That's a fair point. But there's also the point that I buy at what I think is a fair price, and I'm willing to hold for years and years, because it's a good business that pays me regularly, meaningfully. There's no reason for me to sell even if the share price should drop, right? I'm not looking to liquidate or monetize by selling the shares of DBS, OCBC, and UOB, right? So then there are also people say, oh, let's wait for a big crash to come, right? Like buy at the prices during, for example, 2016, and buy at the prices during the pandemic, because at those times the banks were trading at less than 1 times book value. When is the next time going to be? Who knows? Who knows? So we could be just holding on and waiting and waiting and waiting, and we don't know when that's going to happen. When's the next big crash going to happen? Right? That's why when people ask you what am I doing, I say I'm staying invested while keeping a war chest ready, right? As I stay invested, I'm still being paid by the banks. I still receive the dividends, right? So I'm not losing out. And I still have a war chest ready. So in case Mr. Market goes into a depression like back in 2016 and like during the pandemic, I have money to buy a lot more. Maybe 1 times book or below 1 times book value, right? So that's my strategy, right? And for people who have yet to invest or think they have not invested enough, well, you can buy some now, buy some when prices go down even more, and buy a lot more when prices go down a lot more. All right, that's just me talking to myself, right? So for people who are still waiting, just remember what you are missing out on will be the regular, meaningful dividends that the banks will be paying, and you don't know when the next crash is going to be, when it's going to happen, right? No one knows. I certainly don't know. I always say we cannot predict, but we can prepare, right? So if AK can talk to himself, so can you. Bye-bye.